Earlier this year, I made a story on my Instagram and I said that Feast was going to have a monster clay court season. I followed it up in Indian Wells when Feast lost to Medvedev. And I said that Feast has the best chance in a long time to win the French Open as a French player. Now, I did say that this is very unlikely to happen, but I do think that Feast can be an absolute beast on clay. Now, interestingly, I was watching a Feast match and I was listening to the commentary, and the commentators, who shall remain unnamed, said that out of all the Grand Slams, the French Open is possibly the worst for Feast. And this goes completely against what I'm saying, but that statement does make sense. If you look at Feast's results at the French Open, he played it twice. He lost in the first round twice. In 2023, he lost to Fokina. In 2024, he lost to Arnaldi. But I follow tennis very closely. And when I saw last year that Feast won the Bordeaux Challenger, which happens after Rome, it's probably the biggest challenger on clay. It's so strong, it could even be classified as a ATP 250 based on level. And Feast won that tournament, and I was very impressed by that because that tournament was held in France. And he followed that up by winning the Hamburg tournament on clay in a spectacular, super entertaining match versus Zverev in the final. And I started paying a lot more attention to Feast and started to analyze his strokes. And he has the heaviest forehand in the world. The combination of power and RPMs, in other words, spin, better than any other player on the ATP Tour. Now, in today's match against Alcaraz, the forehand average speed was 4 miles an hour higher than Alcaraz. It was 84 for Feast, 80 miles an hour for Alcaraz. So you guys know how hard Alcaraz hits the forehand. Feast hits it even harder, and he hits it with a tremendous amount of spin. So the forehand is an absolute monster. I am going to get into the nitty-gritty of the technique, and I'm going to dedicate an entire video to the Feast forehand. So I was very excited to watch this quarterfinal match between Feast and Alcaraz. And one thing that is surprising that a lot of people don't take into account is the age discrepancy between Feast and Alcaraz, which is not that much. So they're only 1 year apart. Now, Feast played the ATP Next Gen Finals last year, which is a tournament where you can only play it if you're 20 years of age or younger. And we've gotten accustomed to watching Alcaraz play, and it just appears that Alcaraz is much older than he actually is. But these two guys are very close in age. We have to put that into context. And what we saw today is the future of tennis. I'm not going to say that this was a top-notch match from the quality standpoint. There were a lot of unforced errors, but it was a super entertaining match. And you could make the argument that some of these unforced errors were drawn errors because, again, these guys hit the ball so heavy, so hard. Now, the guy that's most consistent in the regards of taking risk while at the same time being consistent, well, that guy is now on tour right now. That's Yannick Sinner. He is the most powerful, but also the most consistent player in the world. Shot quality, #1 in the world, forehand and backhand. Now, I made a video about the Alcaraz backhand yesterday, and Carlos Alcaraz ranked #2 in backhand shot quality in 2024, but he also ranked #2 in forehand shot quality. So today we saw two of the best forehands in the world battling it out against each other, and it was truly a roller coaster match. Now, this performance from Alcaraz is so impressive to me, and I think this is exactly what Carlos needs to start winning big titles again, because he hasn't won a big title in a while. I'm not going to say that he's been in a slump because he's been playing better than last year. I think last year's slump was worse, but Carlos has not won anything big in a while. And this is exactly what he needs, which is coming through adversity. I don't think Carlos was on top of his game in any of the matches that he played, but I was super impressed with the first round against Cerundolo because he had a very cold start, lost the first set, but then played two amazing sets, won him 0-1. Played a decent match against Altmaier, and today against Feast, he started cold again, down love 3, but Carlos Alcaraz is a fighter. He broke back and made that first set super tight. Alcaraz broke serve to level the match at 4-all, only to lose his serve again and eventually losing that first set 6-4. I'm going to talk about the Alcaraz serve in a minute. But in the second set, it was a contested match, a battle, and at 5-all, Fils had such an opportunity to win this match because he was up love 40 on the Alcaraz serve. So he was very close to winning this match, and he didn't necessarily do anything wrong on those break points. The first one, he got a second serve from Alcaraz. He went for the back and return. It's the correct play. He just missed it into the net. At 30-40, it was a rally, and he got a shorter ball. He went heavy with his forehand inside out and missed the ball by just a little bit. He had the right intention, just couldn't execute it with enough margins. So Alcaraz wins that second set 7-5. And interestingly, Fils playing really well early in that third set, goes up 3-1. But Alcaraz comes back and plays extremely well to break the Fils serve. And then one area of the Fils game that can improve is his mental game. He gets angry a lot, throws his racket, and that's definitely something that's not cool. But the best players figure out how to turn negative energy into positive energy, and they start playing well right away. But it seemed to me that that 5-3 service game from Alcaraz in the third, Fils capitulated a little bit and did not play a good game. So this match proved to me that, number one, Fils is a big contender on clay. He's going to challenge a lot of players. His ranking is going to continue to rise. He shot on the scene somewhat suddenly. In 2021, he was ranked in the 600s. In 2022, he finished the year ranked 250. And remember, Carlos Alcaraz has been winning slams for a while. So Arthur Fils is here. He's going to be a contender, and I'm looking forward to seeing him the rest of the clay court season, and especially at the French Open. So there is truth to the fact that historically French players have struggled at the French Open because of the pressure. That's true. And back to those two commentators, that's a valid point that you can make. It's tough to handle that pressure, but I do think that Arthur's game is just too strong for him not to have chances, and especially if the ranking keeps going up, the draws are going to be more comfortable for him in the early rounds to shake off those nerves, and I think he's going to be dangerous at the French. Now, regarding Alcaraz, he got broken a lot today and did not have a good serving day. So let me tell you some of the things that I like on the Alcaraz serve and some of the things I don't like. His placement on the serve is suspect. The body serve is a phenomenal serve to utilize, but more so as a surprise serve rather than going all the time right on the center of the box, because the returner is going to adjust and they're going to start putting a lot of returns back in play. So I do think that Alcaraz goes through the center of the box too much. I don't think Alcaraz utilizes the slice serve enough. He has a phenomenal kick serve. He can hit that flat serve so hard. 130 or more miles per hour for Carlos, no problem. But I don't think that he needs all that speed. I see him as one of the big three in regards to his play style. He's not somebody that has to live and die off his serve. So slicing more will naturally reduce the speed. He can still rip it, but if he slices it, the speed is going to go down into the 115s, 120s, and he's going to get a lot more serves into play. That's how Rafa did it through the vast majority of his career, basically by slicing that lefty serve. And of course, you get an advantage as a lefty, no doubt about it. So the technique on the Alcaraz serve has improved tremendously. But for all you guys that are working on your serve, you know that the serve is not all about technique. There are so many other aspects to it. There's the toss, and Carlos does have issues with the toss where it sometimes drifts too far to the left and he loses his balance a little bit. I talked about that in some of my previous videos. What serve do you use? You have three choices. So you have to have proper shot selection, and more importantly, where do you aim your serve? So there's a lot more that goes into serving well, and I do think that Carlos is on the right path, but there's still room for improvement on his serve. Here are the things that I do like on the Carlos Alcaraz serve. I do like his kick serve. Now, he did commit 7 double faults today, and for some reason, he overhit some of those second serves. I don't think that's necessary. He can kick the serve when he's on clay, and he can build the point phenomenally with his kick serve. Now, the thing that I loved at this tournament was Carlos utilizing the old school clay court tactic of positioning yourself way closer to the doubles alley when serving to the ad side, because that makes the trajectory of the ball more steep, and when you kick the ball, you can get the opponent way off the court, and Carlos Alcaraz, with his unbelievable forehand, can start dominating rallies. Now, after the match was finished, I was going to watch Minaur against Dimitrov, and I was doing something else, and I came back to watch the match, and it was already over. And I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe somebody got hurt. And then I went online and I saw that Alex had beaten Grigor 6-0, 6-0. And I don't remember a score like that ever. I know back in the day, Edberg had won a Grand Slam match 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, but this is something that's so rare on the ATP Tour. You do see it on the WTA more. And I just could not believe what happened. I can't comment on the match because I didn't watch it. I missed it. So maybe you guys can enlighten me in the comment section that did see this match. But I want to stress again that Alex gets a lot of hate online, and he's such an unbelievable player. Think about this. He beat Medvedev 2-2 at this tournament, and he beat Dimitrov 0-0. The semis are Alcaraz versus Fokina. Fokina was in the final in 2022. That's the year that he beat Djokovic in the second round. I remember that match vividly. It was 6-1 in the third. I believe one of these weird Djokovic matches, but credit to Fokina because a lot of players after beating Djokovic will lose in the next round, but Fokina made it all the way to the final that year. So this guy is playing well again. I don't think that he's going to take out Alcaraz because, like I said, this is exactly what Alcaraz needed to gain more confidence. Not playing his absolute best, losing first sets, and still coming back to win matches. Being on the brink of losing and coming out victorious, that builds a lot of confidence in the game of tennis. I'm taking Alcaraz to win this thing.